Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Anderson. Bullock.
Here.
Juris.
Here.
Madigan.
Here.
Marks. Here. Nowlin.
Here.
O'Leary.
Here.
Move to excuse the absence of Councilman Anderson.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion passes.
Reading and disposal of the minutes of the regular meeting of council held June 1, 2015.
Move to adopt without the necessity of a reading.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion passes. Without objection from my colleagues, I would like to bring our attention to the add-on tonight, which is a letter from me. This was inadvertently left off the docket, and I'm adding it on. And it is a report from the Active Living and Recreation Task Force. Without objection, I'd like to move it up to the front of the meeting.
Item 5A, communication from Council President Madigan regarding Active Living and Recreation Task Force.
Thank you, dear colleagues. The Active Living and Recreation Task Force has worked for over 1 year to explore, assess, and understand our city's position in the movement toward community health and wellness. As you recall, Council commissioned this task force on March 17, 2014, to study the current state of recreation offerings in the city and to make recommendations for the future. Council appointed dedicated members who have worked to identify efficiencies and create connections to make active living options available to any resident who would like to participate. The task force is here tonight to provide an update on its progress. A final report will be presented in the summer. It is important for Council to consider their findings as we move towards strategic decisions for the 2016 budget. Move to receive and file that communication.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the communication? Thank you. We might reserve our discussion for after the presentation. For that, I would ask the committee's chair, Jay Ferrand, to come up and give us an update. I asked for this to happen during council so that it could be recorded, so that people could watch it online if they so chose. Thank you for being here, Mr. Ferrand. Would you also take time or ask members of the committee to make themselves known so that people know who's here?
Yes,
if possible. Thanks.
We have 10 different members on the committee. One committee member was able to break through the raid, Tom Zigman. Right there.
And
oh!
There he is.
Ben Van Leer as well.
And Ben.
Even braver. That's great. And then Glenn Coyne. Oh, and yes, I was going to mention Glenn Coyne with Cuyahoga County Planning Commission was engaged by the community to assist our task force from a process standpoint.
Thank you.
Great. And also Lakewood resident.
Yes, he is.
Right. So, if I can proceed with my report.
Thank you.
The Active Living Task Force was initiated by Council in March of 2014. 10 different individuals were appointed by the Mayor and City Council. For reasons associated with the heavy load of construction projects this past year, the Lakewood Board of Education respectfully declined to participate. The first of our 20 meetings to date was held in June of 2014. All task force meetings have been posted and open to the public. At the first meeting, I was selected chair by a vote of my peers. And I hope you find this impressive, but by my estimation, including field work, committee members have collectively exceeded 450 volunteer hours for discovery, analysis, and the assembly of recommendations. As mentioned, the Cuyahoga County Planning Commission was engaged to assist with project design and management. The process experience and guidance provided by Glenn Coyne and Megan Cheney and other members of their team has been invaluable to our efforts. The mission of the Active Living Task Force is to ensure that all individuals who live, work, and play in Lakewood can take part in an active lifestyle with appropriate access to high-quality recreational services and experiences. We have followed a very deliberate methodology that we believe has been fully inclusive of active living providers, consumers, and influencers. Specifically, we developed and executed a survey for a multitude of active living providers in Lakewood, public institutions, nonprofits, and private operators. I think this is the first time something like this has been done with the private operators. These included face-to-face meetings with key leadership of the YMCA, the Lakewood City Schools Recreation Department, the City of Lakewood, and numerous private providers such as bowling alleys, bike shops, running clubs, fencing, and water sport providers, to name just a few. The provider surveys generated important information relative to programming, organizational structure, participation, major barriers, funding, partnerships, and key ideas and feedback direct from the providers. This extensive outreach to the active living and recreation providers in our community helped us to assemble a most important provider SWOT analysis. Second, we reviewed a wide array of recently published studies and reports, such as the Lakewood Community Vision from 2014, the Park System Strategic Plan from 2010, the Bike Lakewood Master Plan from 2012, the Birdtown Action Plan from 2009, and the Board of Education's Community Survey regarding recreation and education programs in 2014. Third, we then by phone interview and internet research conducted a comprehensive benchmarking study with 10 different communities across the country to determine innovations in promoting active living that could be applied to Lakewood. This best practice assembly effort included communities such as Ann Arbor, Michigan, Burlington, Vermont, Boulder, Colorado, Medford, Oregon, and Madison, Wisconsin. Through our efforts, needs and opportunities for active living in Lakewood emerged, and using this information, the task force defined goals or a basic statement of what active living could be in Lakewood. We have used these goals to provide the framework to define and prioritize recommendations and action items to accomplish the mission of the task force. The 5 goals, you may ask. First, effective communication and comprehensive educational outreach. One example of our long list of recommendations that we'll soon be bringing forward. Create a survey template that can be used by multiple providers, whereby key learnings can be shared across entities. Second goal, collaboration is a practice standard between the public entities and the private sector. A public-private partnership regarding active living. Example, consider the formation of a chamber of recreation, whereby active living providers that would meet regularly and could identify key operational opportunities and protocols. Third, all major investments, purchases, and operations consider active living in the scope of their decisions and reflect the context of neighborhood and the broader community. So an example here, one of the recommendations probably will be bringing forward, investigate and promote shared use agreements between the providers, especially those over capacity and those underutilized. Fourth, infrastructure, facilities, and programs are expanded or renovated to ensure active living becomes part of the Lakewood identity. An example here of one of the recommendations could be connect coaches and team players with pedestrian and bike coordinators to devise the best and safest routes from various neighborhoods to our schools, to our fields, and to our gyms. Fifth, ensure sufficient capacity and access exists for all providers and users to be fully engaged in active living. Here's another example. Encourage the provision of after-school programs in partnership with the schools, the rec department, and other community institutions and local businesses geared toward health and activity versus maybe video games and other distractions. Currently, we're assembling our final recommendation report with an integrated, most important implementation plan. Task force members are adding their final assessments, and for each and every recommendation, we will provide the target population, the suggested time frame, the suggested priority, the principal implementation organizations that should be considered, potential partners and collaborators that might join in on the opportunity, estimated costs, and potential funding sources. As you can see, that takes a considerable amount of effort and time. Our report should be ready for both council and the Lakewood community later this summer. Simply, we have worked very hard and we're very anxious to share it. I would like to thank you, the City Council, for your support of our task force. It is deeply appreciated by every member of our team. Likewise, I would like to thank the mayor and his staff for their help all along the way. Lastly, I would like to acknowledge the near regular attendance as meeting observers by Ms. Betsy Shaughnessy of the Lakewood Board of Education and Mr. Gary Rick of the Lakewood YMCA. It's apparent to every member of our committee, our task force, the Lakewood's all in on active living.
Thank you.
That's my report.
Thank you. I will open it up for comment on the presentation to Councilman Juris.
Sure. Great. Thank you.
Start down at the end.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Friend, for providing the update. As I recall, when we originally referred this out and formed this task force, at least the general idea, as you mentioned along the way, was identifying some of the gaps and overlaps. I know we've also talked about having a facilities review within council through the planning commission planning development department to identify the buildings that we own currently and make sure that their utilization is appropriate and that they're being used properly. Had there been anything from a building standpoint related to our pools or any other facilities that you guys had identified of a shortfall or something else that was necessary that was needed from the community at this point?
No, we've got some recommendations and ideas that are still being stirred around how to better optimize our pools and a number of our other facilities. We're very focused on trying to create a 12-month utilization, give people the opportunity to exercise and improve their health year-round versus just during great weather like we're having tonight. No, there wasn't, I know there's a rumor out there about a recreation center or something like that, and I just would say to that we talked about that at the outset of our effort, well before any mention of the Lakewood Hospital change or anything like that. And we came to the conclusion that we had sufficient facilities to deal with most of the active living opportunities in the community.
Okay. All right, great, thank you.
Mr. Ferran,
Yes.
I just want to thank you for, I know I was able to attend several of the early meetings and it was very organized and you were a great facilitator, and I know there was a lot of commitment by the volunteers in the community. I'm very eager to hear your report and how you could help me become more active in my living. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much on behalf of the committee, because everyone was there, they showed up, they contributed, and they did work outside when they had to.
Yes. Great job.
Councilman Nelly?
Thank you, Mr. Ferran. Was there, throughout the various meetings and field work, was there any discussion about the city taking over responsibility for some of the services that are currently provided by the rec department?
Within our committee, at the outset, there was some discussion about that, but it was only because there was a rumor, again, floating that that was the intention for the formation of our organization. So we quickly vetted that that was not really a legitimate opportunity, that we were really focused on how can we improve the operations of all the providers within the community, and how can we get behind everybody that's trying to work in the right direction on active living. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Madam Chair, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ferran, and thanks to all the members of the committee, both that could be with us here tonight as well as those who couldn't. I really appreciate all the work that's been done, the presentation tonight, and really look forward to digesting the report in full and lots of discussion about it. Recreation and active living generally is incredibly important to all Lakewood residents, and we know that it's one of the key factors driving quality of life. And beyond that, it makes our lives much longer. So those are all good things, or at least seem longer, is the common joke. So we appreciate all those things, and we appreciate your hard work, and look forward to extensive discussions about the report. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman, and you do need to live longer because we've got lots of recommendations.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks, Madam Chair. It's admirable, the work that you're putting in and the committee members are putting in, and like others, I look forward to the recommendations. I frankly don't have my head fully wrapped around the topic with as many dimensions as you're analyzing. I'm glad to hear, though, that coordination is one of the key
It's a big part.
parts that you're trying to get around. The kinds of questions that I have at the beginning of the process are things such as coaches who have a lot of knowledge, whether you're a high school coach or a rec league coach, are we talking to them? And there are several we's who could be talking to them and getting their insights. And I don't know, I couldn't honestly say with confidence that we're doing so on a consistent basis. And sometimes the we is a facilities person that the city employs to keep the fields up. Sometimes the we might be a rec department program scheduler. So,
Right.
So I'm very glad to hear that you've got your eye on that ball, pardon the pun. The only other thing that comes to mind at the moment is integrating things like our street design for pedestrians, cyclists, and other activities, I suppose. And we have an item later on the docket tonight to talk about the bicycle piece. And so, to the degree that I made note of your suggestion that safe routes to our recreational facilities, in addition to safe routes to schools, is something that we could do well to learn from coaches and parents on.
Right. Thanks. And thank you. And we spent a considerable amount of time on coordination and infrastructure relative to safe routes, pedestrians, and bicycle, and how to bring out the enthusiasts in the biking community.
Thanks very much, and to all the members of the committee who are here. One of the things I said in the correspondence is that we have to consider these recommendations as we go into the next budget season. We don't have price tags on every single recommendation, but you will be able to get a sense of where these recommendations may take us as we move forward. So let's keep that in mind as we pull these together, and once we do have them, we'll be able to integrate them into the committee work that we do in anticipation of a budget. So that's part of the point of this timing. We didn't want to go much longer without coming back to this council, as we did at the very beginning of the year, I think, when we were out of the school for the first report out. So that's a consideration, and thank you, as Director Pay is, I'm sure, going to look at each recommendation with her scrutiny as well. Thank you very much. I appreciate it very much, Mr. Ferrand, and move to receive and file that report.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any further consideration? Then the ayes have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, and thanks to all the members who came here tonight. Item 1, please. Thanks.
Item 1, Committee of the Whole report regarding June 8th, 2015 meeting and June 15th, 2015 meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. Members of council, I will refer you to page 5 of the docket, in which I review our Committee of the Whole meeting from June 8th. Many of you here tonight were also at the Committee of the Whole meeting. You will recall we had Mr. Bodine, who was a representative of Huron, one of the firms, the firm that council engaged to review the work of Subsidium. We, Director Butler gave general comments. We had general comments, and then we broke into executive session. My report is available, and it is in the docket and online. I will refer to that and move to receive and file that written report.
Second.
I have a second. Is there discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes for that report. In addition, we had Committee of the Whole tonight. We got a lot of work done. We did not discuss the letter of intent tonight, but I will give a brief review of what we did get into. I know that many of our neighbors here in Red were at the meeting and wondered what we were doing. We were doing the regular business that we still do at Committee of the Whole. We just did not get to the letter of intent. So we discussed, briefly discussed only enough to defer. Item 8805-15, which is an agreement with Everstream One Community. The committee deferred pending more information from the administration. On item 22-15, which is to amend our signs to update the code, we heard from Director Siley. We had a good discussion. We had quite a few suggestions for the director and for our neighbors who serve on the ABR. We recommended placing it before ABR for their work and further deliberation. For proposed ordinance 24-15, we had a discussion on the proposed third amended charter. Many of you may recall from having read in the Sun Post, or possibly even the Observer, that last year we discussed the work that the Charter Commission presented to us probably at the end of the summer, sometime in August. In addition, some of you may know some of the people who served on the Charter Commission, so we agreed to bring that back this year and discuss it in potentially putting it on the ballot in November. So we began, continued rather, I will say we continued that discussion tonight, and we know that there's additional work and consideration is needed, and the timeline tells us we may have to move by August. So that was a discussion. We spent quite a bit of time on proposed resolution 8809-15, which is Rockport Square, which is a development on the east end, and many of you are familiar with this. After many years on Lakewood's east end, we may have another development project going up. Ryan Homes is usually known for single-family homes, but they've proposed a series of townhomes on the east end. You're familiar with the Rockport area, so on the north side near Beach, another development area on the south side. The planning we recommended modifications of the plan development for the planning. The Planning Commission recommended modifications of the plan development for those unfinished plots of that Rockport footprint. Development will continue, our Department of Development will continue to work with Forest City and come back to us in July. We know a few things already. There are no shortfalls. There will be no tax abatement with this development, and the TIF will continue. There will be continued payment to the schools. There is more to come, and with possibly with favorable consideration from this council, there may be the ability to begin work in the fall on that footprint. So that was more good news, and certainly much along the lines of what we've been learning from the Department of Development as it's been before both the Planning Commission and the ABR. The last thing that we discussed was our regular update from Public Works Director Joe Benno, who gave us information on the Solstice Steps and the Promenade and the emergency water and sewer repair, the Edgewater Sewer Project, which is nearly wrapped up, the Madison Avenue project, and the West End Sewer Project. That is part of the business that your council does regularly with Director Benno and the other committee of the whole with Director Siley. Quite a bit of work tonight, and move to receive and file that oral communication.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? And that motion passes. And thank you to all of you who were there.
Item 2, Resolution 8805-15, a resolution to enter into an agreement with Everstream, Inc., an Ohio corporation.
I'm going to move to defer.
Second.
On that, a motion and second, is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes.
Item 3, Ordinance 2215, an ordinance to amend various sections within Chapter 1129, signs, in order to update the code, placed on first reading and referred to the Committee of the Whole 5/18/15, second reading 6/1/15.
Move to refer to the Architectural Board of Review.
Second.
Is there discussion on that motion and second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? The ayes have it.
Item 4, Resolution 8809-15, a resolution to enter into an amended agreement with Rockport Square LLC for the development of the remaining phases of the Rockport Square Development Project, referred to the Committee of the Whole 6/1/15.
We We had a report out on this, and I shall move to defer.
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 5, ordinance 2415, an ordinance providing for the submission of the electors of the City of Lakewood, a proposed third amended charter of the City of Lakewood, placed on first reading and referred to the Committee of the Whole 6/1/15.
We had a report out on this as well, and move to defer.
Second.
I'm going to take that back, and I'm going to instead move to place it on the second reading.
Second.
So we keep that on the back. Is there discussion on that? Good. All those in favor?
Aye.
And that motion passes.
Item 6, Finance Committee report regarding ordinance 2015 and resolution 880715.
Councilman Nowlet.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tonight, the Finance Committee met. Present were members Councilman Juris and Bullock, as well as myself, as well as council members Marks and O'Leary. We discussed first proposed ordinance 2015, which authorizes the transfer in advance of the 2015 second quarter funds. This reflects 25% of the funds that we appropriated at the end of 2014. And this is a fairly routine, or it is a routine ordinance that we consider each quarter. We used to do this yearly, but it was recommended by the auditors that we do it quarterly, and so that's what we do now. That ordinance was recommended for adoption by the full council tonight. And then we also considered resolution 880715, and this is deals with the approving the tax budget for year 2016, authorizing its filing with the Cuyahoga County Fiscal Officer. We are legally required to submit our 2016 tax budget and file it with the fiscal office by July 20th of this year. These numbers that were contained in the tax budget information were based on last December's county forecast. So Finance Department simply inserted the numbers that we've already received, and it details how we use the millage of the property taxes that we levy in the city. Resolution 880715 was unanimously recommended for adoption by the full council. Move to receive and file this oral report.
Second. On the motion, is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes.
Item 7, ordinance 2015, an ordinance authorizing the transfer in advance of certain funds placed on first reading and referred to the Finance Committee 5/18/15, second reading 6/1/15.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And the ayes have it.
Item 8, resolution 880715, a resolution approving the tax budget of the city for the year 2016 and authorizing the filing of the same with Cuyahoga County Fiscal Officer, referred to the Finance Committee 6/1/15.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 9, Public Works Committee report regarding resolution 880615 and Madison Avenue parking.
Councilman Juris?
Thank you, Madam President. Public Works Committee met tonight at 6 o'clock to discuss two items. Present were the committee members, myself, Councilmember Bullock and O'Leary, as well as council members Marks and Nowlin. Also present were directors Butler, Benno, Hay, and Siley. We discussed two items this evening. The first was resolution 880615, which was a resolution asking for approval of a submerged lands lease at 12550 Lake Avenue. We went through some discussion from our two directors, Butler and Benno, regarding the process involved in this project. The step that we're at this point, from my understanding as chair, is that the first step is to determine if there are any encroachments before moving forward with any type of financing or project details. At the request of the committee, we have sought further information from our city engineer on the details of the project before we would move forward with the resolution. So we took no official action on this and deferred it until a further Public Works Committee meeting. The second item that we had on the agenda was a communication from Councilmember Anderson regarding Madison Avenue parking. This was an item that was referred in June that would ask for a review of parking meter enforcement over the weekends. We had some discussion of this briefly just to determine if there was anything that would be that would warrant further discussion within Public Works, and then eventually move to refer this item to Public Safety for further consideration. Move to receive and file as oral communication.
Second, discussion on Councilman Juris's communication. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Director Butler.
No, I'd say go ahead with the vote, but I did want to add one additional thing when you're done with the vote.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion passes.
Only because it was council's intention to refer Councilman Anderson's communication to Public Works. I might suggest right now a motion on the floor to refer the same communication to Public Safety.
Do you recall that?
Move to refer the communication from Councilman Anderson to Public Safety.
And I second that. And is there discussion on that? Thank you, Director Butler. That's the discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes.
Item 10, Resolution 880615, a resolution approving the use of submerged lands for property located at and abutting 12550 Lake Avenue in order to permit the owners the opportunity to undertake lakeshore protection measures.
Move to defer.
Second. On the motion to defer, is there any discussion? We do have someone signed up to speak on this issue. It is deferred, but Dr. Kaplan, it is a deferred item, but you did sign up and you did contact most of us, so even though it is deferred, I will take your presentation now. So, thank you for being here, and if you would, put your microphone and your name and address for the record.
Madam Chairman, Council, Mayor, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Gabriella Kaplan. I'm a medical doctor, and I have lived in Lakewood for more than 30 years. And I would like to point out to you that Lakewood is known in the community for caring about the environment. And I am sure you're aware of this. Our great jewel, our great lakes provide 20% of the fresh water in the planet. Right now we have a major drought in California. People are eyeing at us because we have this great wealth. And we must take great care to cherish our lakes and the impact of what our man-made structures have on the lake. I have support from the Great Lakes Restoration, the Alliance for the Great Lakes Commission, the Sierra Club, and I would like to say that indirectly, what I'm going to tell you today is already law in Rhode Island, North Carolina, Texas, California, Washington, and Oregon. We in the past believed that in order to protect our shores from erosion, we must put stone walls, concrete walls, revetments, whatever, because we jealously guard our small acreage of land that might end up in the lake. But now science shows us that you can't fight Mother Nature, especially now that we are having tremendous changes in climate. We're having very big storms, and these revetments eventually fall away by the water. And it's been known now that they have a longevity of maybe 20 years. It's very costly. And most important, and this is why I'm here, I speak as a neighbor who cares about the neighborhood, and I also speak as an environmentalist and as a doctor. These shore revetments cause decrease in biodiversity, actually collect trash and are a cesspool for bacteria. We cannot have this be a trap for microorganisms that are going to damage the whole ecosystem. We're seeing a great deal of loss of biodiversity, fish life, aquatic life, plant life, and we are decimating our communities because somebody cares about a few inches of territory that they might be losing. There are new ways of doing this, and it's very specific for the type of cliff you have. I am just a doctor of medicine, know nothing about cliffs or shorelines, so I had to start from scratch. And I asked all the way from the East Coast to Oregon and Washington State, tell me about this. And it's amazing how many people have a degree in engineering, and very, very few are experts. So I found the experts, and the experts explained to me that science shows that all these revetments that we did, and we are here to borrow money to put revetments which were okay 30, 40 years ago. And unfortunately, the books in Ohio are still reflecting the old ways of doing things. And I plead to the council, and I spoke to some of you, and you said that you cannot change the laws, that it has to come from Washington. So I contacted even the congressman in Washington, and I'm pleading to everybody to please get to speed, to do what the most progressive states have done. And we have to catch up with them, and at this point, to give money to do something that's proven that is damaging to this community, to the ecosystem, is foolhardy. Now, I live in the Witten place, and we are extremely proud, and I'm sure you have at some point gone to the Pier W restaurant. It has a beautiful, iconic cliff. And by you putting a revetment there in the shores of the Meridian, which is the same cliff as the one in the Pier W, you're going to accelerate the erosion of that cliff. So you're adding insult to injury. You're borrowing money from taxpayers to do something that is outdated, and you're going to increase the erosion of the cliff where the Pier W is. So it's counterproductive. The Meridian is the only beach who has been virgin. About 12 years ago, when the water level was up, I convinced the people not to vote for it. 65% of the association voted against it. Now they're not letting us vote. Sorry.
No, not at all. Dr. Kevin, thank you so much for being here. And you and I did speak earlier, so you knew about the 5 minutes, and I do appreciate it very much. I would appreciate if you would also give the website that you were talking about to Mrs. Bach, and we will all be able to look at it, and please come back.
Yes, the
But
mayor
it's a very
is,
important issue. Thank
Lady
you so
Chairman
much.
is mentioning that there is a video that I would like you to share, that you will see that these revetments end up causing lawsuits, and it's a domino effect that
We will look at
destroys the
it,
shores.
and I
So I'm
so
going to share it with
appreciate that.
you, and
Yep,
you will
thank
please
you.
look at it, consider it when you vote on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kaplan. My next door neighbor, thank you. And thank you for speaking, although this item was deferred, and call me again and we can go through this if you'd like. Madam Clerk? We were at discussion, thank you very much. All those, we had a motion and a second on the floor. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 11, Health and Human Services Committee report regarding Resolution 880815.
Councilman Marks?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Health and Human Service Committee was called to order at 5:32 tonight with Director Gelsomino and committee member Juris present, as was Council Member O'Leary and Council Member Nowlin arriving a little bit later. Director Gelsomino reported that the city has benefited from the Title III program for over 40 years, and although funding is shrinking, the program provides a much-needed service, with 70 to 80 congregate meals provided daily and another 100 meals to home delivery by volunteers. Meals are provided in kind with approximately $70,000 in cash received from Title III used to offset salaries. The committee unanimously approved the resolution to be submitted to full council tonight. I move to receive and file.
Second. On that motion, is there discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes.
Item 12, Resolution 880815, a resolution authorizing the mayor or his designee to apply for and enter into an agreement with the Western Reserve Area Agency on Aging for Title III of the Older Americans Act, Senior Community Services for the 2016-2017 program years.
Thank you. Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And the ayes have it.
Item 13, Ordinance 2315, an ordinance to amend certain provisions of Chapter 516, Chapter 537, 142, 501, 1327 of the codified ordinances to ensure that all persons within the city have equal access to employment, housing, public accommodations, and education, placed on first reading and referred to the Rules and Ordinances Committee, 6/115.
I've moved to place on second.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 14, communication from Councilmember Madigan regarding support for Cuyahoga County Arts and Culture Levy.
Thank you. To my colleagues and to the community, in 2006, county voters expressed support for the county's arts and culture sector by approving a tax on cigarettes to directly fund the county's arts and culture organizations. Since 2008, these funds have invested $125 million in more than 300 organizations, making Cuyahoga County one of the top public funders of arts and culture in the nation. Lakewood can only be as robust and vibrant as the county in which we are a part, and the county arts and culture programs are constantly interacting with the Lakewood public. Last year's Cleveland Orchestra at home in Lakewood performance series is a really good example of how investing in these organizations enriches Lakewood. In addition to benefiting the county as a whole, levy funds have directly supported influential arts and cultural institutions in Lakewood since 2008. The Beck Center for the Arts, Lakewood Historical Society, Lakewood Public Library, Lakewood Alive, and several others have received over $1.7 million in operating and program support. This November, the public will be asked to decide again whether or not to continue taxing cigarettes to support arts and culture. I ask that that my colleagues and the public vote to renew that levy so that Lakewood arts and culture and Cuyahoga County can continue to benefit from the important economic, educational, and quality of life benefits that this cigarette tax will provide. Move to receive and file the communication.
Second.
On the motion to receive and file the communication, and the second, is there discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 15, Resolution 881015.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Are there any abstentions?
Abstain.
One abstention. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't know that. You have to abstain. We have a work issue. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Item 15, Resolution 881015, a resolution supporting the extension of the Cuyahoga County cigarette tax for arts and culture.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Is there discussion on the adoption? Yes, Councilman Juris. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This isn't necessarily something I've given a great deal of thought to as a city council member in the past. I've not smoked for quite a few years, but the idea of making sure that taxes are fair and provide some sort of commensurate return for the tax that's charged certainly is something that I would hold on to. While I don't dispute the need to be able to support the arts and culture, I don't dispute the health risks of cigarettes. Combining those two together and saying that we should tax a small group of smokers for something like arts and culture is something that I certainly don't personally stand behind. I'm not sure if my constituents would feel differently, and quite frankly, I haven't asked, because I didn't anticipate this was going to be something that would be a council issue by resolution here at this point. So at this point, I'll just be simply voting with my my own position versus what the 10,000 or so other people that I represent believe. But and then I'll let them call me up and yell at me later for not agreeing with them. But that's just kind of explain the reasoning for the vote there at this point. So thank you.
Fair enough. Thank you. Is there any further discussion? Councilman Bullock?
I appreciate the leadership you're showing tonight to put this on the docket and to invite us to support a continuation, which is not an increase in the tax. Certainly, all of us benefit from the arts and from the arts in Lakewood. Or if some of us go downtown or to any other cultural venue, or listen on radio to certain programs, I think we all benefit. And I tend to agree, it's a case of you get what you pay for. So those communities that make an investment reap those benefits. There's educational value to it as well as simply life enrichment and enjoyment. I do respect Councilman Juris's point that there seems to be, you could make the case of a fairness issue on the fact that this is a tax levied on proceeds from cigarette tax. I'm recalling that County Commissioner of Public Health, Terry Allen, told us of the backsliding that we've had on smoking prevention due to decisions made at the state level about repurposing smoking cessation education resources and funds to other things. And so we've seen an increase. So frankly, smoking is so damaging, by any which way we can get there, if we can disincent teens from getting hooked in the first place, and there is a price sensitivity to this, I'm okay with that. Anyway, that's longer than I intended to talk, but I'm happy to support this thing.
Further discussion? On the motion for the resolution, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Those who abstain? And the ayes have it. Thank you.
Item 16, communication from Councilmember Bullock regarding Lakewood bicycle infrastructure implementation.
Councilman Bullock.
As a quick prelude, since we're implementing recommendations, and one of the recommendations was for all of us to ride our bicycles, I rode my bicycle tonight, which is the first time in a long, long time, and frankly, I need to do more of it. So tonight is the beginning of active living for me. Dear members of council, in August 2014, Bike Lakewood completed its report, Lakewood Bicycling Priorities Report 2014. This report built upon the framework contained in the City of Lakewood's 2011 Bicycle Master Plan and the principles in Lakewood's Community Vision Update of 2012 by surveying 190 Lakewood cyclists ranging in experience from fearless and confident to will not ride in traffic. And using that input together with recommendations received from the League of American Bicyclists when it designated our community a bike-friendly community at the bronze level in 2013 to develop a ranked priorities implementation list for bicycle improvements. Bike Lakewood's report provides a roadmap for improving bikeability in Lakewood for the next several years as we prepare to reapply in 2018 to the League of American Bicyclists once again for bicycle-friendly community designation. Our goal is to make Lakewood a place where all people can safely and comfortably ride a bike to a park, library, store, restaurant, school, place of employment, or anywhere else. As we can see, a lot of thought and research and community input has already been invested into Lakewood's bike planning. In addition, our commitment to cycling has continuously received broad supermajority support, not only with unanimous adoption of our bicycle master plan by city officials, but with consistent support in surveys of resident priorities over many years. We have a lot of progress yet to achieve. Despite a recent Lakewood bicycling increase, 2010 census data shows that for most areas of Lakewood, bike riding still makes up less than 1% of commute to work trips. And that's the type of travel for which we have the most reliable data. There certainly is other kinds of travel, such as going to the park or running errands. With the notable exception of Birdtown and neighborhoods to its north at or exceeding 1.5% of commute to work trips. To meaningfully increase cycling for the greater population, our focus must be to enable our focus must be to enable the 60 to 70% of residents who are cautious about cycling in traffic, the category we call interested but concerned, for them to feel safe and comfortable cycling, And the only step proven effective for increasing their rate of cycling is to plan and implement safe and convenient infrastructure. The time has come to increase our rate of implementation for Lakewood bicycle improvements, both physical, such as facilities infrastructure, and educational, such as safety training and encouragement to less experienced cyclists. This will be necessary if we are to make meaningful progress towards a 2018 reapplication to the League of American Bicyclists, and more importantly, to achieving our own goals of getting Lakewood residents safely onto bicycles as part of a healthy, active living lifestyle, and of distinguishing Lakewood as the bicycle capital of Northeast Ohio, which I'll remind all of us was an explicitly stated goal of our bicycle master plan. To do so, further decision-maker focus is required so we can develop the necessary plans and fund them in the city budget for 2016 and future years. Therefore, since decision makers have certainly been busy with many other topics in addition to the bicycling, I will be convening an informal working group that will meet at regular intervals at City Hall on a public basis. I envision working with the authors of the Bike Lakewood report, with representatives of the administration who certainly have a lot of expertise and shown great expertise on this, as well as interested council colleagues and members of the public. I hope and expect that this work will help me develop recommendations and perhaps others, as well as project plans that could be drafted as legislation to be submitted to council for formal consideration this year. I'm excited about taking this step, and I look forward to collaborating with all of you to realize Lakewood's not fully tapped potential as a bike-friendly community. Move to receive and file that communication.
Second. On that motion, is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And that motion passes. There are two people who are signed up to talk on this. They're Amanda Harland. Thanks. Thanks, Ms. Harlan. Just your name and your address for the record.
Amanda Harlan, 2030 Waterbury. As Tom was talking about from our 2014 survey results, mostly what I wanted to focus on was the bicycle education aspect of that. Bike Lakewood currently works with local bike shops, H2O, the Beck Center, the library, the PTA, and some of the city leaders to do a lot of educational events. We had our third annual Bike to School Day, which had our first survey of the students on their concerns of safely riding to school. It was the first year this year that we had a helmet offering program that was citywide for anyone that was a student in the public schools here in Lakewood. It also includes a week of educational videos for the students and educational pamphlets reviewing laws and safe practices for riding. That same pamphlet is handed out at local events, which reviews all of those laws for adults and children, which differ a little, especially regarding the helmets. And then we also have our Kidable Mass Rides, which is a group ride for families to learn safely riding on the streets with their children. Over the next few years, we would hope to see some growth in the return of a bike rodeo or Lakewood Safety Town or similar programming for the elementary school age children, so that when they are at that age that they can ride and do Bike to School Day, they have some education behind them. We would also like to see some continued workshops for adults on riding safely on the streets and bicycle maintenance, focusing mostly on things like knowing that you need to have lights, how to use share arrows and bike lanes and things like that. Also included in that would be a light giveaway program for people that don't have lights so that they can ride at night if they need to, and education on new infrastructure. One main program that we would like to see happen is a Share the Road program that educates drivers, not just the people that are riding the bikes on the streets. We will continue our annual surveys to the residents and the Bike to School Day participants so that we can learn what is needed and what we can do to improve things. So we thank you for your support over the past 3 years that's allowed us to grow this far, and look forward to continuing that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Ben, did you want
Ben Van Leer, 1469 Woodward Avenue.
Thank you.
Members of council, in reference to Councilman Bullock's letter, Bike Lakewood, and you have all of the Bike Lakewood board here tonight, myself, Amanda Harlan, Keith Fisher, are all here tonight. We're always happy to work with the city, improving safety for all people riding bikes in Lakewood. Bike infrastructure is really the only way to do this sustainably and for everyone. Protected bike lanes, which as a reminder, is a bike lane with a separated barrier to traffic like a curb or a bump. Reduce injuries by 50 to 90% for people riding bikes, as well as pedestrians and people driving cars as well. And a complete network of high-quality infrastructure could be as much as 4 times safer than riding a bike in Lakewood today. These are improvements that are possible now in Lakewood and that we've recommended in our report. And bike lanes on Madison Avenue after they're surfacing later this year will be a great start. And we look forward to working with the city council, the mayor, and everyone else interested in improving biking in Lakewood. And for the statistics that I mentioned, I reference, or you can look at our report, it references those safety studies that were done that's been provided to council at a committee of the whole meeting in the past. I'm happy to provide it again. And it's available to the public on our Bike Lakewood Facebook page.
Thanks, Ben. Appreciate that. And just for the record, for everyone who's here, Ben is also a member of the Healthy Living Task Force and was really helpful aligning recommendations from the Bike Master Plan, which the Department of Development worked on, and the Healthy Living Task Force. So thanks. I think I may have cut off one of the council members. Mrs. Marks, did you have something to add? I did not know you were.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to mention to Councilman Bullock that I would certainly love to participate in your little ad hoc group. I'd love to bike more in Lakewood, and I talked to Ben Van Leer about this about a year ago, and I'm one of those inexperienced cyclists that doesn't feel safe, so I need to be educated, and whatever we can do in the city to make people like me get on their bike and ride, I really appreciate participating in that. So thank you very much. Thanks, Councilman Bullock.
Thanks.
I think we have heard from members and we have voted on it. Clerk?
Item 17, communication from Mayor Summers regarding mayoral appointments to the Lakewood Audit Committee.
Mayor Summers.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Members of Council, I'm very pleased to announce Lindsay Gradina as a appointee to the Lakewood Citizens Advisory Committee, whose work is about to begin in earnest. This is a group that considers the options of how we might spend our community development block grants. It's about $1.7 million a year, and those grants are focused on low to moderate income neighborhoods in Lakewood and elsewhere in the country. And this group of citizens works very hard to understand how we can best use those funds. It's a group of about 25 members, I believe, and council appoints a group of them, and I appoint a group of them. So I'm grateful that Lindsay is willing and able to serve in this capacity.
Thank you, Mayor Summers. We will, Madam Clerk, will you help me take that as item number 18? So move to receive and file that communication for Citizens Advisory Committee, item number 18.
Second.
Is there discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? And that motion passes. And thank you, Mayor Summers and Lindsay. Is Lindsay here?
I don't believe she is here.
Okay, thank you. So we are now, Mayor Summers is going back up to 17.
Item 17, communication from Mayor Summers regarding mayoral appointment to the Lakewood Audit Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of council. I'm very pleased to announce Ann Spence, who is here in the audience. Ann, would you raise your hand? I think I saw you. And reappoint Woody Clary, Gregory Clary, known as Woody, for a second term on the audit committee. And this is a group of dedicated financial professionals who lend their time to support finance director pay and finance folks on city council to help us oversee our best practices and how we can improve not only our financial accountability, but also share information about some of the sophisticated financing tactics that are available to cities like ours. So This dedicated group of professionals will be well served by Ann Spence in her first term and Woody Clary in his second.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, and then Clint Waddell is also being reappointed. Thank you, Treasurer Pay. I think this is his third term. So Clint Waddell, who's been a longstanding member and a senior advisor to KeyBank on public finance. So a great expert, Clint Waddell as well.
Yes, thank you. Move to receive and file that communication. Is there any discussion? Thank you, Mayor, and thank you all for doing that. And Anne, welcome to doing a committee. Thank you. You feel like you've been doing a committee already, I bet. So all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 19, communication from Mayor Summers regarding mayoral appointment to the Lakewood Community Relations Advisory Commission.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of council. I'm very grateful to announce that Lisa Tom, who is a member, resident of Lakewood, and a member of the Hospice of the Western Reserve, is willing to lend her time and talents to the Lakewood Community Advisory Commission. This is a commission that meets monthly and considers issues that might be a barrier to inclusion, and they contemplate how we can, in fact, improve our relations among various cultural and ethnic groups in the community, and have served us well in so many ways, and I'm grateful that Lisa is willing to serve in this capacity as well.
Thank you. Move to receive and file the communication. Is there discussion? Is Ms. Tom's here?
No,
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? That motion passes. Thank you, Mayor.
Item 20, communication from Finance Director Pay regarding 2016 tax advance resolution and 2016 tax rate resolution.
Director Pay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Attached are two resolutions. One is authorizing the tax rate resolution. It's different than the tax budget, but along the same lines to ensure our property tax rate of 17.4 mils. And the other resolution is the city's intent to receive advances in 2006 of monies that have been collected on the city's behalf by Cuyahoga County and advance them in periodic basis instead of one required by the Ohio Revised Code. Please refer to the Finance Committee for further discussion.
Thank you. Move to receive and file the communication. Second. Is there discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 21, Resolution 881115, a resolution requesting the Cuyahoga County Fiscal Officer to draw on the Cuyahoga County Treasurer to pay to the city an advance of all real personal property, estate taxes, and special assessments collected in the year 2016 in such amounts as may be requested and available.
A move to place in Finance Committee. On the motion and second, is there any discussion? Although this is a regular bit of housekeeping and a normal procedure, we will see it in Finance. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? That motion passes.
Item 22, Resolution 881215, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the County Fiscal Officer.
Move to place in Finance.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 23, communication from Law Director Butler regarding 2015 first quarter codification ordinance.
Director Butler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The ordinance that follows this communication sends to the codifier, the online codifier and book codifier, those pieces of legislation that were adopted between December 15, 2014 and I believe April 30, 2015. I'd ask that the ordinance be referred to an appropriate committee for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. I move to receive and file the communication, first of all.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 24, Ordinance 2515, an ordinance to approve the editing and inclusion of certain ordinances and resolutions as part of the various component codes of the codified ordinances and to provide for the publication of such new matter.
I move to place on first and refer to rules and ordinances.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
First of all, is there any discussion on that? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? And the ayes have it.
Item 25, communication from Human Services Director Gelsomino regarding accepting donation for H2O vehicle purchase.
Director Gelsomino.
Dear members of council, pursuant to the Lakewood Codified Ordinance 11114, authority to accept income or other things of value, this communication serves to notify you that the city intends to accept a donation of $23,290 from the Lakewood Foundation's H2O Advisory Council. The funds will be deposited to account 277-000-385-000 and used to purchase a new 8-passenger van for the H2O program. No matching funds are required. Sincerely. Most important, though, I must add that this is of great value because this donation is all through fundraising and donation. And I also would be remiss in not acknowledging that one of our great members is here, Vicki Smigelski, and I'm sure it's not for this, but I couldn't look at her and not acknowledge her. So, thank you.
Vicki, where are you? Thank you. Thank you. Move to receive and file the communication.
Second.
Any discussion on the communication?
Madam Chair.
Councilman O'Leary.
I just want to briefly echo the sentiments of our director and say that this really is a fantastic thing for Lakewood. As a former passenger of those vans, I can attest that they provide great value to our citizens, both in terms of the service that's provided by the H2O program, as well as the fantastic experience that's given to those campers. So thanks again.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you for getting this all organized. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 26, communication from Public Works Director Benno regarding design build contract approval for Underground Connections, Inc.
Director?
Dear members of council, I'm asking City Council to approve a design-build contract with Underground Connections Incorporated in relation to 2 previous resolutions that have been discussed within council, and the contract is in the amount of $800,000. The cost of this contract will be divided between work performed at 102 separate properties. City Engineer Mark Papke and the Division of Engineering have reviewed and submitted the submitted qualifications and ranked them appropriately, with Underground Connections ranking the higher of 2 sets of qualifications that were received. Your approval of this contract is another step in this project toward complete separation of private property sewers in our clean water pilot study area. This pilot study project will make improvements to and separate the storm and sanitary sewers at these 102 properties. As stated in the previous resolutions, using sewer funding, the city will pay for 90% of this construction cost work, and the individual homeowner will pay 10% of the cost at their respective property. These improvements are needed to positively direct stormwater flows into dedicated stormwater pipes. When stormwater finds its way into the sanitary sewers during rain events, the results can be combined sewer overflows into Lake Erie or the Rocky River. In order to expedite the schedule of this work on this contract, I ask that this resolution be approved at the July 6th meeting after further discussion in the appropriate committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Benno. I move to receive and file the communication and place in Public Works. Just to receive and file the communication. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 27, Resolution 881315, a resolution to enter into a design-build form of agreement for the design and construction of corrections to the sewer system under the Western Lakewood Clean Water Pilot Project with Underground Connections, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $800,000.
Move to place this resolution in the Committee of Public Works. On that motion and second, is there discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? And that motion passes. Thanks, Director Benno.
Item 28, communication from City Engineer Papke regarding Lakewood Stream Bank restoration and fish shelf.
Director Benno.
Dear members of council.
Yes.
The above referenced project entails restoring the city's property that abuts the Rocky River, which has eroded, and also creating a fish shelf for fishermen in the area. The city property is located in our stockyard by the animal shelter site. Over the past several years, the Rocky River bank continues to erode, in this area and approximately 15 feet has been lost. The project is needed to further minimize erosion in this location. The city applied for a grant with the Ohio EPA, and they have agreed to assist with the funding. Total project cost is estimated to be approximately $105,000, of which the Ohio EPA will fund just under $123,000 of the project. Please see the attached resolution for the above referenced project. Thank you.
Thank you. Move to receive and file that communication.
Second.
On that, is there any discussion?
Sure.
Tell me, yes, and Director Bennett, tell me again what a fish shelf is.
Instead of just placing rocks and concrete as erosion protection along the bank of the river, it is stacked in a fashion that creates a fish habitat within that concrete erosion protection.
Thank you. That's what I thought it was. Thank you. Is there further discussion? Councilman Bullock?
Thanks, Madam Chair. That description sounds similar to what Dr. Kaplan is hoping to see at the Lake Erie shore line while we're on the subject. I'm glad to hear about this project, and I must confess I wasn't aware that there was shoreline or river bank back there which could be fished. Where's the public access to that area? You walk along the dog park?
The public access would be down the pathway, or I guess the public access is where the fishermen walk. They typically park at the driveway going into the animal shelter. There's about, I don't know, maybe 10 parking spaces there. They park there and they'll walk anywhere down that driveway behind the animal shelter to access the river, or pretty much through any path in the woods to get to the river.
So there, and that's allowed and customary?
Yeah.
Perhaps we could make an intentional beautified path so that others know about it, and maybe even put a sign up there. Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe it's somebody's secret fishing hole, but
we all knew where it was.
That would be a welcome thing. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Thank you, Director Bennett. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? And that motion passes.
Item 29, Resolution 881415, a resolution authorizing the Director of Public Works to enter into an agreement to accept a grant from the Ohio EPA Clean Water Fund Grant for the Lakewood Stream Bank Restoration and Fish Shelf Project in the amount of $122,000 at 842, and requiring a match of the City of Lakewood in the amount of $81,894.
Move to refer to the Public Works Committee.
Second.
Is there any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? And that motion passes. That brings us to the conclusion of tonight's meeting, but before you go home to watch the Stanley Cup, Chief Gilman, we have more citizens who are here to speak to issues of importance. So I will begin with, thank you, Dr. Kaplan, for already speaking. I will begin with Jacob Polomaki. Did I not get that right?
Pretty well.
Please tell me.
Madam Chairman, I'm Jacob Palomaki.
Yes.
Some say Omaki, it's an Irish name, but it's really Finnish. P-A-L-O-M-A-K-I. I'm a Lakewood resident and homeowner at 13956 Estill. As a 66-year resident of Lakewood, I'm not 66 years old, but a resident of Lakewood for 66 years, and a retired medical practitioner, educator, and consultant, I'm here to speak in support of the new Lakewood Hospital Health Center. I've served on the health medical staffs at Metro Health Medical Center, University Hospitals, Fairview Hospital before it became a part of the Cleveland Clinic and the Cleveland Clinic Foundation. In addition, I've had part of my training at Lakewood Hospital in the first iteration of the OB unit many years ago. Therefore, I bring a physician's perspective regarding the proposed replacement of Lakewood Hospital's building with a state-of-the-art health center. Nationwide hospitals are taking a hard look at how they need to change to meet the 21st century expectations of providers and patients to improve outcomes and become the healthy communities to which we all aspire. Excuse me. Every community is unique, and therefore the changes needed will be different for every hospital. For some rural hospitals, emphasizing rural, partnering with another hospital makes sense. In large urban centers, a hospital such as Lakewood Hospital may need to repurpose outdated, inefficient, or underutilized buildings or beds to economically provide services to their community needs now, such as those offered in the proposed healthcare center with the emergency department, modeled after similar successful centers in Twinsburg and Avon. The project is still evolving, therefore I am not surprised when new information emerges. These changes should not serve as a source of frustration, skepticism, or anger, but instead should be understood as evidence of the thoroughness of the process. Unfortunately, some apparently ill-informed and uncharitable comments made in defense of individual views and agendas have not made your decision any easier. Furthermore, making this issue the primary platform of a political campaign and the filing of a lawsuit only cause unnecessary delays and additional expense. Council has before it an opportunity to bring better health and better health care at an affordable cost to Lakewood's residents. The potential creation of a 6-acre parcel for redevelopment also brings with it the possibility of broadening our tax base to the benefit of us all. Time is of essence. Opportunities such as this are rarely made available to communities such as ours. Lack of affirmative action can only have a negative short and long-term impact on this vibrant community. I strongly urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. Bill Gatos?
Hello, I'm Bill Gatos. I live at 1310 Chase Avenue, where I've resided with my family for 32 years. Live here in Lakewood, born here in Lakewood, have a business in Lakewood. I'm all in, as they say colloquially these days. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. I'm here to express my opinion relative to Lakewood Hospital's discussion. I am for saving and building health care in Lakewood, but not for saving a declining facility. I was born in Lakewood Hospital, my grandson was born in Lakewood Hospital, and I have a warm place in my heart for Lakewood Hospital as a memory, but it is not now the place I fondly remember. I am not for saving a deteriorated facility that has been openly offered to the market with no takers. My heart, as with many others, wants Lakewood Hospital to continue as a strong amenity providing great service to our community. But it does not and will not in its current state. We must rebuild Lakewood's health care. Save the Hospital is a great storyline for a sappy novel or made-for-TV drama. But relative to what is provided to us now, saving it is not a good business decision. Please take all emotion and politicking out of the process. We can save memories in a book and a special shelf at the library, but we need to move forward in a positive manner. The community vision, which many of the people in this room, including myself, worked on, did not call for saving the hospital. It called for community wellness goals, which included great facilities and programs, advocate for quality health, and adopt environments with best practices. Saving the hospital does none of these. It seems to me that we are on the precipice of a slippery slope where the outcome can either be very positive when a multi-billion-dollar company with deep pockets makes a long-term commitment to our community to provide top-notch health care in a new upscale facility as a property-owning stakeholder on their dime. We hear oftentimes, most of you when you run for office, is to convert our absentee owners into stakeholders and owners in our community. We are taking a tenant that's ready, willing, and able to come to stay in our community as a landowner. Very, very, very important thing. Or we can painfully save the declining status quo of the hospital for the remaining term of the lease, and at the end of the day, that same potential stakeholder turns the keys back to the city of Lakewood and gives us nothing. Then, who is going to come up with the money to repurpose that building? It's going to be older, It's going to age further, and the ability to find a suitor is going to be significantly different. We have a suitor that wants to deal with us now. We don't have to shop for one. We have the rebuilding opportunity we are presented with at this time is a once-in-a-lifetime perfect storm. Lakewood can ill afford to thumb our nose at it. I have been working in the greater Cleveland real estate market as an appraiser and consultant and in the lending business for 40 years, and I've never seen an opportunity that is prime as this as a win-win for both sides of the equation. We have a tremendous success in turning our community around over the past 5 to 6 years with forward-thinking leadership that is willing to step out of the box of the status quo to contemporize our city, making it one of the strongest real estate markets in greater Cleveland. By many local, regional, and national accounts, one of the best places to raise a family. A new medical facility would clearly enhance this appeal. Lakewood's market appeal growth is a result of creative redevelopment offering strong examples that we are a forward-thinking community which attracts and engages vibrant people. A new medical facility and further downtown redevelopment would enhance this market growth. We cannot waste this opportunity. Not moving forward with the rebuilding opportunity we have with a new medical facility could easily be perceived by the marketplace that we are done with forward thinking. In closing, I am often asked, Bill, what is this going to do to the value of real estate in our marketplace if the properties, if the hospital closes? And I says, well, you know, right now it's not going to close. It's going to change, and it can change in a very, very positive way. And if it changes in a positive way with the rebuilding of the corner of the street with the facility and giving us the residual 5.7 acres then to develop, it could take this to the next level. But I woefully warn you that if the slippery slope goes the other way and nothing is done, and this becomes the albatross within the city of Cleveland, it's going to be an ugly picture.
Thank you, Mr. Gatos. I
Thank
do
you.
appreciate very much. And thank you, Mrs. Graham, for pointing to your watch, but we had Mary up here, so thank you so much. That's my neighbor. Is it Dr. Palamaki?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Dr. Palamaki, Mr. Gatos, would you please, if you could, would you email your comments for the record to the clerk's office tomorrow?
Yeah.
So we can have that read into the record. Thank you. Other people have done that in the past. Leslie Worsach. I'm sorry. And did I get your name wrong?
No, you got it pretty right.
Ms. Worsach. Okay, thank you. And I apologize because you're here to speak on 8806.
Yes. So
I apologize. It was deferred, but we want to hear from you. You are my neighbor.
Okay, yes, I am your neighbor.
Thank you.
I live at 12550 Lake Avenue, and the only thing, I didn't prepare anything.
Would you speak in more so that the people behind
I
you
didn't
think?
prepare anything. However, what I just wanted to say is that the Meridian Association has done many things over the years to try to protect and lessen our erosion, which has been only 8 inches in 40 years. And I feel that we want to do something that is better than what we have, and to protect the wildlife, the water life, the beauty from the boaters looking in, and for the people that live on the Gold Coast looking out. So that's really all I have to say.
Thank you very much. And please stay tuned. Thank you. Maria Metham?
That was good.
Did I get it?
You did good.
Okay, nice, thank you.
Hi, my name is Maria Metham. I live at 1142 Hall Avenue. Thanks for giving me a few minutes to speak. I'm going to go back to the Lakewood Hospital topic for hopefully less than 5 minutes. And I want to start by saying nobody has paid me to be here. I come here out of my own free will. I have been a resident of Lakewood essentially all my life, except for 1 year after college when I spread my wings all the way to Westlake. I ended up coming back. I have also been an employee of Lakewood Hospital for about 20 years and am a physical therapist by profession. Now, we've heard a lot about what our community does and doesn't need, as far as disease management. But the perspective I would like to bring to this committee this evening is surrounding my experiences related to the Cleveland Clinic. For the first several years of my employment at Lakewood, there was no Cleveland Clinic. I entered a therapy department that was somewhat fragmented, mostly staffed and run by an outside agency that eventually was phased out around the same time that the Cleveland Clinic was entering the picture, unrelated. Despite the fragmentation, I thoroughly enjoyed those first few years as I was hired to do a job I am most passionate about: acute inpatient rehabilitation with our most disabled populations. We built a strong team and a unit literally from the ground up. We had a great thing. So you can imagine, as news spread about Cleveland Clinic swooping in, tensions and skepticism were high: fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I'm here to tell you today that in my personal experience, despite the immense pressures and changes occurring nationally in healthcare, I love my job more than ever before, and have built and developed an incredibly strong relationship and commitment to this organization. I would like to take a few minutes to tell you why. Before anything else, they believe in putting our patients first. These are not just words, but a culture to which this organization has committed significant time, attention, and financial support. As part of the hospital's Patient Experience Committee, I am witness to this. It is an expectation of every caregiver, no matter what their role, each and every day, from the housekeeper to the security guard to the physician. A culture of mutual respect continues to be developed. A close second is the organization's strong focus on taking care of our employees by creating an engaged workforce. As a manager, I see and understand what our employees value, and I can say that from a senior leadership and system level, I have received the support to provide them with those things. Third, this organization practices what it preaches with regards to wellness of their employees and their communities. This I have also had the privilege of witnessing firsthand as the chair of the Employee Wellness Committee at Lakewood Hospital. Initiatives to support the education of and opportunities for employee wellness have been numerous and have impacted our employees and our organization in a very positive way. This organization has also supported us and me personally in initiatives for community outreach and public education. Live Well Lakewood Committee, the Ambulance Chase, Diabetes Center initiatives, Relay for Life, just to name a few. As we have been hearing for months now, this is what we need more of. Management on the front end of conditions that are most prevalent in our communities. Lastly, the leaders of my institute and this organization have worked to elevate my practice and my profession, as well as those of the caregivers around me. Through focusing care into service lines, centers of excellence, and ample opportunity for research and education, the environment now exists to learn, grow, and thrive into the best therapist and manager I can be. And who benefits most from this? Our community. After 23 years in practice, I can wholeheartedly say I love my job, I love my organization, and I love my city. I believe that continuing to engage with the Cleveland Clinic to build programs centered around what this community needs most is truly in the very best interest of the citizens of Lakewood. Thank you for this opportunity to share my thoughts and for continuing to listen to the various viewpoints as you work to make the right decision for the city of Lakewood.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And will you send your comments electronically as well? Thank you. Lori Allen.
Yes, good evening. Lori Allen, 1222 Ramona. It has come to my attention from a credible source that the City of Lakewood is maintaining private streets throughout the city. I was told that the maintenance being performed on these private streets includes, but not limited to, pothole patching, refuse collection, plowing snow, salting, and maintaining the traffic signs on these streets. If my source is correct, and the city is indeed maintaining these private streets with taxpayer funds, I must say that I'm a bit perplexed. As I drive up and down the side streets, I find that many of them are rough, pitted, and often full of potholes. Now it appears that the city lacks funds and/or manpower to permanently repair utility cuts. For example, when the Lakewood Water Department needs to open up a portion of the road to work on a water main, a loose, noisy metal plate sits over the hole for months upon months. I feel badly for those that live near one, as these plates, they have to listen to these plates all night long as the cars drive over them. One repair that the city did make to a utility cut is on Marlowe near Franklin. It hardly qualifies as a repair in my opinion, since this so-called repair has been made, the road is extremely rough. Seeing as Lakewood is the 7th highest tax city in the area, I feel that utility cuts should be repaired in a timely fashion. If what I have been told is true, I can't help but feel that if our city workers were not spending time and resources maintaining private drives that only the most elite and chosen few have the honor of driving and walking on, our roads would be in better condition. A friend of mine was told by a city employee that residents on private streets pay taxes too, and that they are entitled to services. Using this logic, the residents on any street like Hurd, Newman, or Dowd, for example, should be able to go up to City Hall and ask their street to be made private. In my opinion, this logic creates a very slippery slope and supports the allegation that there are two Lakewoods. In fact, it has come to my attention that last week, some young females were selling candy over on Maple Cliff, and that a resident told them to leave because they were on a private street. And then this resident called the police on them. Additionally, it seems that the city has recently gone up and down Detroit and adjusted the timing of all the traffic lights. I now have to wait roughly a minute and a half before I can get off of my street. In my opinion, making residents wait longer to get out of their street is simply an attempt to cover a problem that the city created. Prior to the traffic signal upgrade on Detroit in 2012, traffic was not nearly this congested. Now, if anyone drives down Detroit between the hours of 7 a.m. and 11 p.m., they are likely to be sitting in a traffic jam if they are anywhere west of Bunce. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Jim Kenny?
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am Jim Kenny. I live at 1554 Elver and have been a resident for 20 plus years. I come tonight now with a prepared statement, but more so a heartfelt one. I want to express my concern the inaction of this body to act on the letter of intent that was presented to you before the Cleveland Clinic, as I think it's become very divisive in our community, and it's really been it's a loss, and I hate to view what further repercussions. I respect the opinions on both sides of this debate. However, I don't think we can have a fully true debate on the subject matter until the letter of intent, as I understand, is voted on and acted on. Because if your body does choose to act on that and engage the clinic in negotiations, then we can really have a proposal. We don't have proposals yet. We have hypotheses that we are bantering around. And I think that's really led to an unhealthy debate in the community and divisiveness that doesn't serve anyone in this room or in the city. So I ask that this body take some action and give it full consideration. I understand you have reached for outside counsel, but you can do that due diligence in process while negotiating, and you don't have to make a vote on any final agreement until you've completed that task. But in the meantime, I ask that you please take some action and put an end to the divisiveness. Thank you.
Thank you. We are considering a letter of intent. We don't have legislation before us, but we are not voting on a letter of intent. So what would be voted on is legislation before us that would be possibly a new master agreement. So that's what it is. But this is our time to deliberate and research. So I appreciate your sentiments, and we are working hard, and we hope we will be voting on something eventually. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any announcements from this council? Are there any announcements from the administration?
I just would like to remind council and also the citizens who are here that this year, of course, we look forward to 4th of July. But one thing that's going to be different is the location of the fireworks. Due to the extensive amount of construction that's happening in the lakeside front, fireworks will be moved a little bit further south, and therefore the audience will have to be moved a little further south as well. So what normally might be a congested night in the park will be a little bit more compacted as a result of the lack of real estate. So anybody who's in a position to help communicate that in any form or another would be much appreciated. So it'll be a little different, one-time event this year.
Thank you. And with no further business before the council, I shall move to adjourn. Is there any discussion on the movement to adjourn? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? And that motion passes. Thank you, everyone.